There it goes. So, welcome to the HUMANE Mind episode. I think this is 82. Yeah, apparently it's 82. Wow, that's 82 weeks of doing this, and that's with breaks and all that sort of thing. That's ridiculous and kind of stupid. So, I do have a slightly new setup today. Although, man, this screen, like I keep seeing it in my glasses, the reflection is ridiculous. I will try to find a workaround for that for next time, but for now, that is what it is. All right, so hopefully I can get this stream knocked out pretty quickly. I've got a couple of things I want to go over. Not sure if anybody's actually showing up in the chat. Let me pull that up. All right. And I don't have my OBS and all that sort of thing set up because I didn't have time after work today. I didn't get to it this weekend. I spent the weekend finally getting my desktop set up and up and running completely. That was a kind of an ordeal, and then had internet outages, so I couldn't test any of my stuff. So it's like, yeah, the internet was out over the weekend, and then Monday as well. It was kind of intermittent, so I couldn't get anything done. But hopefully throughout the next week I can get a better setup for all of this. So that said, let me just click off a couple of things here. I was adjusting the sound to make sure everything was coming through clear. At least the audio is working just fine. I don't think anybody's actually showing up, so kind of do the same thing I did last week, and hopefully this time the stream won't cut out in the middle of it because my computer crashes. Well, I mean, last time I was streaming on my laptop, and so my laptop has been crashing on me recently and happened midstream. Okay, so the main topic of this video is going to be BuzzFeed's attack on a 14-year-old girl. And the reason this is kind of worked out kind of, serendipitously? Sure, that's a good word. Because Soph was actually one of the people I was going to highlight in the conclusion of my video from last week. Last week I highlighted Mini-AOC. I talked about see, here's the thing: is I've got what 120-ish subs, and of those 120, nobody watches these videos. So it's like, oh, I'm giving these people a shout out. Who cares, right? It's nobody's watching, nobody cares. But I did these are examples of younger individuals who are speaking truth. They understand, they see through all the BS that is out there right now, and they are it gives us hope for future generations that okay, there's the millennial, apparently their generation is out of their mind, retarded, basically adult babies. Oh, hey, there's Sinister. But it seems like the next generation coming along, they're not mindless chattel, and they're actually thinking for themselves and actually creating content that is hilarious, and you're like, okay, there is signs of life, there's signs of intelligence on this planet. So I did highlight Mini-AOC last week, and I was going to talk about Soph and Mini-AOC, but then I was like, oh, you know what, I'll delay that and talk about her next week. And then for some reason today, it kind of blew up all over the news. BuzzFeed basically launching an attack against this girl's channel and trying to get it taken down off of YouTube and all that sort of thing. So that's the main topic. But before we get to that, there's the Alyssa Milano "No More Sex" in order to stop Georgia's abortion bill. She's advocated a sex strike, as in don't have sex until we can get abortion, or until we can get the abortion bill banned in Georgia. Because Georgia, we talked about this last week, Georgia passed a bill. This was one of many states that has passed a heartbeat bill. And what the bill states is that at 6 weeks, a heart is detected, and they are saying that is, at that point, we can conclude this is a person that must be protected under the law. So they passed this bill, and it is astounding how many people are against this. And I got into various Twitter conversations about this. When does life start and all that sort of thing. And it's it's like ironic that Alyssa Milano is saying, okay, until this bill gets repealed, no more sex, withhold sex. And I'm like, that's okay. If you're not having sex with people, there's no abortion.
I think that would make that bill twice as effective.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, not only are we protecting.
Okay. So, yeah, I didn't hear about that story, but I think I saw an ad for purity rings.
Yeah, it was so Babylon Bee has been, dude, I hadn't really heard of them until like a couple of months ago, but they have been just producing some dynamite parody. They are much better at parody than The Onion. Yeah, because it was about Alyssa Milano announces a line of purity rings.
Yeah, so I saw that.
Oh, yeah, dude, yeah, she's doubled down on that as far as the sex strike is what she's calling it. And you're like, well, if they're not having sex, that means no unplanned pregnancies. Therefore, you don't need an abortion. This is win-win.
Good thinking. That just solves it all around.
Oh, and then another minor celebrity. I don't know if they had a check mark, but I've never heard of them. It was, I guess maybe it's some kind of journalist or something like this, was saying, okay, you can keep your abortion bill, but we also should make a mandate that that you cannot be an absentee father. That if you are the father of the child and if she's forced to keep it, you have to be in the relationship. And we're like, win-win. What is going on here?
That's what we've been saying.
Like, these are things we've been advocating for decades now. For some reason, these leftists are, because they're trying to protect abortion, are advocating for things that people on the right or people who are conservative have been advocating for decades.
There's all kinds of single fathers been fighting to see their kids because of their ex ownership, and basically they pay a bunch of money and never get to see their kids. They've been fighting for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much since divorce became a big thing and that was mandated.
Yeah. So what's going on right now is leftists on social media are advocating for abstinence, and they're advocating for shotgun weddings.
And for fathers to stay with their kids.
Well, yeah, that's the shotgun wedding things. Like, that's the entire premise behind a shotgun wedding is a guy gets a girl pregnant. Oh, well, you got her pregnant, you're stuck with her for life. That's the dad would hold a shotgun, I mean, sometimes literally, to the guy's back as he walked him down the aisle. He's like, yeah, you're marrying my daughter, you knocked her up. This is you're stuck with her for life. And that's exactly what they're advocating for. It's like, oh, you got her pregnant, you're stuck with her. Shotgun wedding.
Maybe they've gone so far left, they've kind of circumvented the...
yeah.
I don't know... social globe. They're coming back on the right, and they're heading right back towards the center. They don't realize it. That is really weird stuff.
Yeah, it's... the other one that Babylon Bee had about this that was amazing is it said the sex strike. Let me see if I get the phrasing of it correctly. 6 men affected by the sex strike speak out. These 6 men who are attracted to feminists. Sorry, it was all 6 men who are attracted to feminists speak out against the sex strike. Sorry. It's like, yeah, there's only who is this really affecting? Like, who is trying to sleep with Alyssa Milano? Who is trying to sleep with all these crazy feminists? Yeah, I butchered the joke, but you get the idea. It was they do it much better, and like I said, it's a great parody channel. They do a couple of those per day, and they are spot on with their stuff. Like the other thing that's kind of been in the news, it's not on my notes, but Rashida Tlaib. So I guess maybe I should talk about this. Rashida Tlaib made some kind of official announcement I don't know if she said this aloud, but I've seen it written out. So I don't know if it was officially written on her website or by someone on her staff or something like that, talking about the Holocaust and talking about how it was detrimental to Palestine because they had to give up land and and there was people who died in the process of giving up land and creating Israel for the Jews to have safety. I mean, you can read for yourself that that's not taking anything out of context. That was the sentiment expressed as like, oh, thinking about the Holocaust, it brings us off, but like for Palestinians,
would you have just preferred for all the Jews to get wiped out?
I don't know. Yeah, it is very. So she is trying to play it off like the Palestinians are the victims who lost land and lost lives and were destroyed as a result of the Holocaust. They're the victims, not the Jews, not the several million Jews who died during the Holocaust. Nope, they're not the victims here. Let's feel sorry for the Palestinians who lost their land in order to create the Jewish homeland. What? Yeah, it was called out by Trump. It was called out, but Babylon Bee had an article where it's like Rashida Tlaib goes home to relax by watching heartwarming scenes of Schindler's List.
Yeah. Of course, they would bring that up.
Yeah. So that is why that article came out, is because of her statements regarding the Holocaust. We're just like, wait, what? And then anybody who criticizes her was naturally Ilhan Omar was attacking them for saying, oh, you're attacking Muslims and all that sort of thing.
They don't live in Palestine.
No.
They live here.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be U.S. citizens. The only country that we seem to fully support and have since its inception is Israel. They've been
not the only country. So that's the thing, is we support Japan. We support Taiwan. We support Singapore. We support Sweden, Denmark. There are a bunch of countries that the U.S. gives financial aid as well as acts as their military support. It's the only country in the Middle East that the U.S. has a active presence. Well, I guess I can't say that either, because we give a lot of support to Saudi Arabia as well. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. I would take that back, but
yeah,
they have been our allies since Israel was founded. And so if you're going to move to the U.S. and you're going to get into U.S. politics, then that is your job, is to support the U.S.
Yeah.
You don't become a congressperson to go talk about some other country that we don't have an alliance with, that is kind of attacking our ally.
And out of all the countries I mentioned, the one that makes the least amount of sense is actually Saudi Arabia, because they've actually, their administration, their government has deliberately taken actions to undermine the U.S. and to attack the U.S. and to fund terrorists against the U.S. So it's like, and what was, how many of the
about oil over there?
Yeah,
and we tolerate that.
If memory serves me correctly, a lot of the terrorists who were involved in the 9/11 incident, they were from Saudi Arabia, right? Wasn't it the majority of them? It wasn't It wasn't like they weren't from Iran or Syria. I believe the majority of them were from Saudi Arabia. I'll have to double check that.
In Afghanistan?
What?
Were they just hiding out in Afghanistan? I thought that's why we were over there.
No, Afghanistan and Iraq had nothing to do with it. Let me.
Then why are we over there?
Give me a second. Well, it's for the drug war and trying to stop opium or something like that. And I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I'm getting all my Middle Eastern incursions mixed up. There's so much stupid stuff going on.
Yeah, 19 were citizens of Saudi Arabia. 2 were from the United Arab Emirates. 1 was from Lebanon. 1 was from Egypt. 19 of them were from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So if any of these countries that we currently support should be criticized, should be Saudi Arabia. You're like, hey, what's going on here?
I would say,
why is there anti-American sentiments in a country that we give, billions to annually. That's
on their behalf. That was due to, I'm guessing, religious beliefs, like Islamic extremists.
Yes.
Ones that think the Western culture is.
But yeah, so I'm not saying that Saudi Arabia, like the government financed
Saudi Arabia, but yeah, that's
there's a huge amount of anti-American sentiment in Saudi Arabia, and that was kind of to highlight that. But also Saudi Arabia, the government itself, has given money to insurgents, like terrorist groups that attack the U.S. And you're like, wait a minute, hey, I thought we were supposed to be buddies here. What's going on there? That Israel, to the best of our knowledge, has not done that. Sweden, Japan, like a bunch of countries that we give finance or humanitarian aid and all and military support to the best of our knowledge, those countries don't try to dick us over, but Saudi Arabia has. So if anybody should be criticizing a country the U.S. kind of supports, and you're like, that doesn't quite make sense, it should be Saudi Arabia, and yet for some reason it's always, wait, why does the U.S. support Israel? I'm like, because we support any kind of democratic country that protects its people and adheres to the same values that America has, for the most part, except, again, the kind of weird one is the odd man out here is Saudi Arabia. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like Saudi Arabia. But I'm guessing it has something to do with the CIA's involvement in getting the royal family that is currently in charge of Saudi Arabia put into power. And so we put them there, so they're kind of our allies. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense, but I'm guessing there's some kind of, because it was a military. I don't know if it was necessarily a military coup, but it was a coup of the previous government that established the royal family that is currently in charge of Saudi Arabia, and that coup was kind of arranged by the U.S. Something that sounds conspiratorial, like crazy out there, but yeah, there's something that there's government documents that this is all official stuff. This is not, Area 51 or, the U.S. government was behind 9/11. We never went to the moon stuff. This is stuff that's like, we were involved in that. It's openly admitted. It's not anything hushed or covered up. Anyway, that's a huge side tangent.
But that they're allies because they're the biggest exporter for OPEC.
Yeah, they are huge in oil, and the U.S. dollar is entirely based on oil. Without oil, the U.S. economy collapses.
Yes. But the stupid thing is, we can get a lot more than that from Alaska, from our own land.
Yes. Or from Venezuela. This is what doesn't make any freaking sense to me right now. They're talking about going in and doing some kind of military, intervention to get Maduro out of there and possibly replace him with some other person who's just as much of a socialist and all that sort of thing. What we should be doing,
it keeps backfiring. That's why we're stuck with the Middle East.
All the U.S. should do is say, hey, you own a lot of oil. We will buy your oil fields. Then you can feed your people and you can support your social program. Just let us buy or rent your oil fields from you, because you can't do jack with them. They don't have enough money to pay for the infrastructure to pump the oil out of the ground.
Oh yeah, they blew it all. They can't even export it now. It's just sitting there.
Yeah. So the U.S. should come along and be like, hey, we are offering to buy your oil. You can use that money to pay for your social program or whatever you want with it. Preferably, you'd give it back to the people that you screwed over in this whole
that would make sense, but the downside is if they become a very fascistic or basically a dictatorship, which it kind of already is, but if it becomes worse because we have funded it, then that puts a negative light on the U.S. as in, yeah, we were just looking for the oil, but we funded a very bad regime, which I know the left and socialists think, hey, it's not their fault. It's not socialism. It was just done wrong. But
so I guess there would have to be some kind of stipulation.
Because we're just looking for oil. That's kind of just another strike in the U.S. history, because that's, I mean, Saddam Hussein, we've been there, done that.
Yeah.
I think we kind of need to look internal and basically say, if this is going to be our morals, we don't want to be a socialist country. We don't agree with it. We're not going to help or aid a socialist country. We need to just start using our own lands. There are very clean and efficient methods for extracting oil. We can do that without destroying Alaska. We should be able to just not have to import oil.
Yeah, we should just not have to import oil. But as far as the Venezuela incident goes,
complaining about a tundra where nothing even grows, I don't understand it. It's frozen, the northern half of Alaska.
Yeah, well, we got to preserve the pristine beauty. For who? Who goes up there and looks at it? Who
it's
goes
like
up there?
A frozen desert. There's nothing there.
Trees. There's nothing there. There's no very little animal life in those areas that are permanent frozen because they can't survive there either. So what is being preserved? Nothing. It's silliness. But as far as the Venezuela issue goes, if the U.S. goes down there, buys up the oil fields or rents out the oil fields, and saves the Venezuelan populations from their starvation, wouldn't you think that people would be like, oh, hey, the U.S. is a good place, and they would become staunch supporters of the U.S. and of capitalism rather than supporting socialism? Because they're like, hey, socialism gave us starvation and riots in the streets where tanks are running over people.
Possibly.
Capitalism,
however,
it's very difficult.
Control down there.
Yeah.
It's no longer publicly owned utilities or publicly owned companies. The state seized everything.
Yeah.
So any money given goes directly to the state, the guy in power, the military that is suppressing their people.
Yeah, so I think
directly for the people.
So I think this kind of infrastructure would require that area or the area where the oil drilling would occur would be designated like U.S. sovereign territory where they could set up their own, our own military outposts and all that sort of thing. And then we would bring people in and be like, okay, this is how capitalism works. Isn't this much better? Slowly educate them kind of like internally. That's a pipe dream. That's not likely to affect the population.
No. Especially once they're taken care of, then people become a little too lax and don't
they can become complacent, and then they want their free stuff, which is exactly
capitalism's under attack in the U.S. because we are a little too privileged and have forgotten all the hard work that went into building this country.
Yeah,
not we. I mean, just
it's if you look at everybody who's currently advocating for socialism, it's not the poor working class people. It's not the people who are homeless or starving. It's not the less fortunate. It's all the people who came from the middle class and are complaining that they're not in the upper class and they've been spoiled their entire lives. It's the AOC. Look at AOC and Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders never had a job his entire life and was sleeping on other people's couches and just kind of freeloading off of people until he got elected, and then has been freeloading off of the U.S. population and the taxpayers. And AOC, came from money because her dad was a wealthy architect. They lived in the upper class area of New York, kind of pampered, and went to the preppy school in New York. And then when her dad died, they kind of lost their money, and then she was forced to, her mom cleaned toilets, and she was a bartender for a couple of years. But that's
nothing new. There's tons of people in the same situation.
It's like,
I just want to work. I just want to get a paycheck.
But she comes from money, and then she's like, oh man, I have to work for money. What's going on here? You can see the spoiled brat mentality. And
that's an interesting thing. If you come from money and you're raised like that, but then you lose it, then you blame the system or blame whatever for the loss of your income and the loss of your lifestyle. But that's just life. However, the people who come from the bottom and work their way up, completely different view, saying, I built it. I did this with my own two hands. This is mine, and I understand what hard work equals. My time equals my money.
Yeah. It's the people who never had to work for money that are like, what? I have to work for money now? What's going on here? This is terrible. What a horrible system. Tear the whole thing down.
There's thousands of bartenders all over the country. Not the greatest job, but some of them make really good money. So
and speaking of AOC, wow, like this, I don't know if this was yesterday or if this was today, but she put out a post criticizing people for taking her 12-year comment seriously.
She stated it literally. Like, that's not even context. She said it multiple times.
She said people who took her seriously don't understand dry humor and sarcasm. Because
so her entire plan is based off of sarcasm and a joke.
That's what I was saying. I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me it was dry humor and sarcasm that led to your claim that the Earth is going to end in 12 years unless we do something about it.
I mean,
you wrote a Green New Deal based on that.
Yeah,
you submitted that, and it was voted on. Was that dry humor and a sarcasm? That the Green New Deal is dry humor and sarcasm? Because that's exactly what we were saying when you launched it. We said, oh, that's a joke. That's what we were laughing at it when it was proposed because it's so absurd. We've been calling it a joke from the beginning, and now you're like, oh, I can't believe they took this serious. I'm like, who took it seriously? No one. It's a joke. It's laughable. It says something about cow farts and trains to Florida, or not Florida, trains to
Hawaii.
Trains to Hawaii.
That's not even possible. I mean, that's the whole reason Mitch tried to push that forward, is because it was a joke. He's like, let's put some light on it. Let's all take a look.
Expose the joke for what it is, and not one of them voted yes on it. All of them, they voted present on their own. And I'm like,
not one.
Yes, it's a joke. We knew it was a joke. We called you. We told you it was a joke, and now you're saying, "Oh, I can't believe they took it seriously. It was a joke all along." And we're like, who took it seriously except all of the Democrats who signed it?
But she went on a rant after that.
Yeah. She went on a rant like the other night about it as well, and I'm like,
when they've got her in Congress yelling at everybody about not taking it serious, and that this is going to kill a lot of people if some action's not taken. I don't.
Yeah, it
is backpedaling, because I think the more she gets called out on her BS, the more she realizes, I think it is BS, and I need to figure out how to get myself out of this giant hole that I dug.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Mini-AOC came out with another video. Well, again, either yesterday or today. Again, bashing AOC. It's pretty hilarious. I don't think she's the one writing the material, but oh well. She demonstrates that she at least understands the material and is actively participating in it. It's not something like she's reading off a cue cards or something along those lines. So I still think that is a great
Mini-AOC. That's okay. I think I saw a video.
She's had like 3 videos. Yeah. Basically a parody. Yeah.
This little girl.
Yeah, a little girl being a parody of AOC, saying like a lot, making, like she was talking about in the more recent one, she was saying that she just watched this documentary that reaffirmed her vision of climate change being a disaster, and the documentary she watched was Ice Age 2: The Meltdown. So yeah, I was like, dude, it's funny stuff. And you're like, and the crazy thing is, it's not that far off from what AOC has actually said. So, like, oh, what is this? Is this a garbage disposal? I've never seen one of these in my entire life. Is this environmentally sound? What? Yeah, it's kind of funny that the parodies are good, but they're so close to the source material that you're like, is it really parody anymore?
Parodies are usually extreme. This isn't far off.
It's trying to out extreme AOC. It's a really difficult challenge. Yeah, but you should check those videos out. They're pretty funny. Something else about that was no, I think it was. Oh, it was the parody account that was banned. Yeah, that's.
Oh yeah.
That'll
parody account that got deleted. It's gone.
Yeah, and the one of the reasons they said it was banned is because people couldn't tell the difference between that and the real AOC. You're like, what?
It still does not break any guidelines.
No, it didn't break any guidelines, and I'm like, well, if the parody of her is being confused for her, it doesn't kind of mean that she
That would
is
be
an
like
idiot.
painting the Onion because people thought those were real news stories, and if you thought those were real news stories, you're kind of missing a few
Yeah.
years.
Well, I mean that kind of
But every once, but after like one article or two screen captures, you're like, yeah, it's a joke.
yeah. Well, that was an idea I had a while back as far as the real world. For some reason, is mimicking parodies, and I was gonna basically have a series of videos called Monty Python IRL. I didn't get around to it, and now I definitely won't have time for that sort of thing.
I have seen a couple videos comparing current stuff to Monty Python. 30 years ago, they were calling all this stupid stuff out.
Yeah, no, yeah. If you watch Life of Brian, there's a scene in there where they keep saying men, and one of the guys is like, and women. And he's like, yeah, and women. And then it's like, and something about these men, and then and women, and women. And,
oh, yeah,
why do you keep saying women? And he's like, well, I want to be one. And you're like, dude, they predicted this crap. Like that was parody back then because it was so absurd and ridiculous. That's become real life. That is an actual conversation you would hear at a university. It was a joke because it was so over the top and absurd. That's become the new normal.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's because when people are talking about men in general or mankind, it's just assumed they're talking about everybody. At least it used to be.
Well, yeah.
Now,
no, that's how the English language works. That's how most romantic languages work. Most romantic languages where there are gendered terms, the masculine includes the feminine. So when you're talking to a mixed group, you can use the masculine term. When you're talking to a group that's just males, you can use the masculine term, and it would be offensive to use the feminine term. But if you're talking to a group of women, typically you would use the feminine term, but using the masculine term would also be acceptable. It's more appropriate to use the feminine term, but you could have if you're talking about like Spanish, Latin, or English, you can use nothing but masculine terms, and that should be acceptable, regardless of what crowd you're talking to. It's like, hey guys, you could say hey guys and be talking to a group of women. That shouldn't be offensive. It used to not be offensive. Now apparently it is. But for the most part, when somebody says mankind or men, that included men and women. If you were talking exclusively to a group of women, you would say women. But that's how languages are, especially ones that are derived from Latin or the romantic languages.
I mean, that's already been called out. So that term Latinx,
yeah,
that's only used by progressives.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It is saying no, Latino means everybody.
Yeah,
women are Latino. There's no Latin.
Well, and they would have to change almost every. They would have to change the entire Spanish language to have an X at the end because it's like what El Nino or Las Niñas. Ah, crap. What do we say? LX Ninex. Lox Ninex. You would have to basically you would have to end every word with X because it's so ingrained in the language.
Yeah, every word has a gender.
Yeah.
But it's not gender as in one's worse than the other.
No.
It's just because it's based off of Latin.
Yeah. And Owen Benjamin is talking about this. Like, so even like nouns are also either feminine or masculine. Like bears are masculine, and so you wouldn't say la, or I forget the word for bear. But you wouldn't use the la, you would say L and then the word for bear. But when you're talking about the moon is feminine, so you would use la luna. At least I remember the term for moon. But you wouldn't say El Luna because that doesn't make any sense. But it's like I said, it's so ingrained in there. How do you have a conversation if you always have to be like, oh, wait a minute, I mean the general gender neutral term. And what happens about like non-binary and under other kin and all, like apparently there's 72 genders and all that sort of. Would you have to make that many terms? Like for every word, you'd have to come up with 72 variations of that word so it's addressing the specific type of individual you're talking about.
Well, that's because
that's insanity.
Group within the LGBT plus community, is trying to identify all these genders, but there's like a whole section that says there's infinite genders and everyone is their own gender.
Yeah.
That whole nonsense.
And yeah, we've talked about that on the stream before. It's because they're confusing gender with individual identity.
Yes.
Like, hey, just drop the gender thing and you can be an individual. Join us. It's fun. It makes more sense.
So no, trying to tell the rest of the world, hey, you got to fix your entire language, which has been around for centuries. No, not going to happen.
Okay.
1% of the population being whiny babies should not dictate what the other 98% do.
Yeah, and there's a couple other.
They can do what they want. But the rest of the world doesn't have to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's all so the emphasis on language. That's also another Monty Python skit. The knights who say "knee," right? The way they were defeated is this. Oh no! Don't say that word! Don't say that word! Oh, what this? Oh no! It's like that. I'm watching these scenes and I'm like, that's a college campus right now. Oh, he said the word. He said it. Oh, that's their safe space. I'm like, what?
Yep.
And dude, those comedy sketches. There's also one where one of the guys goes into a, I forget what it's like some kind of business, and they're offering courses, I guess. And so you can go and pay money and argue with somebody for an hour. And so he goes in there and he pays money, and the guy just says, I'd like to argue with you. And he says, okay, takes his money and says, so what do you want to argue about? And then they start arguing, and the guy offering the course or whatever it is, all he's doing is just saying, no, it's not. No, you're not. Nope, I disagree. That's not right. I'm like, and he's like, wait a minute, I thought this was supposed to be a class on arguing. All you're doing is disagreeing with me. No, I'm not. And I'm sorry, sir, you're out of time. I was like, that's the typical argument that happens online or on like, just disagreeing with somebody isn't an argument. An argument is a formal debate, like that was set up using under the terms of Socrates laid out. You have to make a claim and then support that claim with logic, reasoning, evidence. So facts would fall under evidence. You're supporting that claim with verifiable information, either logical arguments, reasoning by going from one conclusion to another, or by presenting facts that support your claim. Simply contradict and say, nope, that's not true. You have to prove it's not true, but by again providing logical arguments, reasons, or evidence. And that's completely lost on the majority of people on the left. They don't do any of that. All they do is say, oh, nope, you're wrong. Nope, you're wrong. I win. You're wrong. Like, that's not an argument. That's a parody sketch making fun of people who don't know how to argue.
Yeah.
The other one was the Black Knight. Just the Black Knight is Hillary. I was like, your arm's on the floor. Nope, I'm not dead yet. Come back here, I'll bite you.
Go away. Come back here, I'll bite your ankles.
But your arm's on the floor. No, it's not. How was that like? Yeah. I mean, there's so many of these absurd, goofy sketches that you're like, that there's real life parallels for all of those. And I wanted to make a video series about that, but it'd be too time consuming. And yeah, I've got enough on my plate as it is. So and actually, as soon as I'm done with this stream, I do have work to do. So I've got to send off a couple of emails to our offshore team because their schedule is just about to start. I think their shift starts at 9 o'clock, so we do have to kind of wrap this up. But yeah, just go through and watch Monty Python, either their series or one of their movies, and every 2 to 3 minutes or every individual scene, you're like, you can think of recent events that are parallels to those parody sketches. I mean, like real life incidents. It's ridiculous. Yeah, okay. So since we're running short on time, I'm gonna get to the main topic because it's kind of parody. So there's this channel on YouTube, Soph. She's got like 800,000 or possibly 900,000 subscribers. Kind of blew up really quickly over the last couple of months. I just found out about her at the start of this month because she had a video where she was it is very tongue-in-cheek, very dry humor. She's wearing hijab, and she said it was because people were insulting her in a video game that she realized the error of her ways when she was criticizing Islam and converted completely and is wearing a hijab in the video. And yeah, because people yelled at her. As if that's why people convert. That's a convincing argument. You know what? I never thought of it like, you're an idiot. Oh, I'm an idiot. Let's put on that hijab. Problem solved. So yeah, she is very deadpan in her delivery. It is fantastic. And it's like an 18-minute video, and it is just rapid fire, bam, 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 like just calling out all of the current BS. And I'm like, this girl's like 14? What? I wish I was half as informed when I was that age. It's ridiculous. And it's one of those things is people have been criticizing, saying, oh, people are writing her scripts for her and all this sort of thing. And this is just, paid propaganda sort of thing. But she's been on interviews, like she's been on streams with people, and they're asking her questions. She's just as quick in real life. And I'm like, yeah, she's just really, she's like really smart. She's ahead of like easily ahead of her class. And that's pretty noticeable in her videos when she's talking about that and all this sort of thing. Just a really smart individual who understands and sees through the BS PC crap. Has a foul mouth and all that sort of thing, but I mean that's typical of people who have been, on the internet since their entire lives.
Yeah,
she's the product of 4chan and Reddit. Yeah, that's what we expect Generation Z to be, because they're like, yeah, your leftist mind tricks won't work here because they're already more well informed than the people trying to trick them. That's pretty amazing. But the reason she's been making news today, which for some, like, man, it's bizarre how that lined up, because I was already planning on talking about her at the end of the stream, because I was going to say, yeah, this is a individual. You're like, yeah, this is that uplifting moment. But the reason she's been making the rounds today is because BuzzFeed wrote an article about her, calling her like as alt-right, indoctrination channel. And I'm like, she's not.
I don't think a 14-year-old's run around indoctrinating people.
Well, they're saying either she's indoctrinating people or she is the product of being indoctrinated by friends or family or whoever is pulling the strings. And she's been out there like, are you guys out of your minds? Like, my dad voted for Hillary Clinton. I write my own scripts, and then I submit them to people who I respect for proofreading and to help me clarify points. But this is all me. This is my material. This is not. And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. It seems very authentic and genuine, and her, and not somebody else. It's be very difficult to pull off that kind of video stream if somebody else. It would seem very wooden. I mean, I don't know if you've seen like movies with child actors and that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. You saw Captain Marvel, right? And I was like, that was one of the things people were praising was the girls perform, like the daughter's performance, and I'm like, that was the most wooden delivery I think I've seen in a movie in the past 20 years. She might as well have been reading off of a cue card and be like, no, what am I supposed to say next? I am saying the lines that are written on this card. Yeah. Like, how is this a Marvel movie? That they could be like, okay, cut. All right, kid. This has gotta feel authentic. Like, it is. So Stranger Things kind of broke that mold because those kids are actually they feel like real life people. But like Haley Joel Osment was good in a couple of films. He seemed very genuine and like he was embodying those characters. But Anakin Skywalker, the kid who was playing, dude,
yeah,
Not the Christian Hayden or Hayden Christensen guy.
Yeah, the little kid.
The little kid. There are so many times where you're like, why?
I mean, he looks like he's got some charisma and he's a nice, happy kid, but
there are so many times you're like, that line was forced. It's like
it doesn't feel like he's in the world. It feels like he's trying to be in a movie.
Yeah, he was trying to be in a movie, and that's how most child actors are. You watch their stuff and like, it's not. It doesn't come off as authentic or like they are pretending to be something. It's like it comes off like they're pretending to be something rather than they are something. And that's the difference between a good actor and, mediocre actors. Is mediocre actors they try too hard and they're trying to, and you're like, nothing about that comes off as realistic or authentic. And it's when an actor can convey that this is real. This is why method acting has become so popular amongst a lot of these actors, is because they engross themselves in the role. It's really, I think the method acting is because they're not that bright, and so they have to kind of because they're actors like what's his name, Gary Oldman, who's really smart, and James Wood, who's also really smart, although James Woods kind of plays the similar character in every film. But Gary Oldman loses himself in the character, but he doesn't stay in character off camera. There's clips of him behind the scenes, and he's Gary Oldman behind the scenes. And then as soon as the camera comes on, he engages that mode, and it's a whole nother person. Complete change in mannerism, complete change in speech patterns, loses his own accent and all that sort of thing. I was like, yeah, that's a sign of a good actor, because you can't tell it's Gary Oldman sometimes in his roles. You're like, who was that? Yeah, that was Gary Oldman? What the?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like other actors, like Daniel Day-Lewis, who's apparently, the method actor.
He's a very severe method actor.
But he has to constantly be that all the time and can't turn it off until he's done filming. You're like, well, okay. But the smarter actors, they turn it on and turn it off because they realize, yeah, it is pretend, but it is a skill. And I guess it takes
and it has produced some pretty good characters or iconic movies, because Heath Ledger went method for the Joker, and
yes,
it came out really well.
Yeah.
And Daniel Day-Lewis, even though he does get extreme, he's very convincing in his roles.
Yes. So I'm not saying that they're bad actors. I think they take it too far. Like Jared Leto was apparently
I didn't get
to his castmates and was playing pranks on them that were beyond pranks. They were actually like, smearing feces and other stuff on their trailers and stuff. I'm like, why would you need to do that in order to be the Joker on screen? Like, how?
I don't even think the Joker does that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Reading about the Joker smearing crap on stuff or sending dead animals to people.
Yeah, but apparently that's what the stuff he did behind the scenes, because he was in character. And or was it? Okay, here's a good example of the difference. So Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future doesn't seem like he's trying. He is Marty, right? There are clips of Eric Stoltz, who was originally cast to play the role of Marty. So the producers wanted Michael J. Fox, and Michael J. Fox had a scheduling conflict with the filming. So they went with their backup, who was Eric Stoltz. And after I think it was 2 weeks of filming, they kicked Eric Stoltz off the project because he was a method actor and he was being Marty. And it was to the point where they couldn't talk to him unless they addressed him as Marty McFly. And if they talk about anything as far as the movie and all that sort of thing, he would ignore it because he was back in the 50s and they didn't have that. And I'm like, yeah, it's just somebody who you can't work with. Michael J. Fox is not a method actor, but when he is in something, you're like, oh, he makes it feel authentic. Like, there's stuntmen and all that sort of thing involved, and there's a whole camera crew, but you lose all of that and you get more immersed in the story. He didn't need to go full method to be a convincing Marty McFly. And that's I would say the people who go method can be good or above average, but they aren't the great actors. The great actors are the ones you're like, wow, I didn't even realize, like, I was so engrossed in what was going on. It was like I was there in real life and not watching a movie. That's when you walk away, you know, like that's the sign of a good movie, is when you stop looking at it as if it's a movie. And yet the method, to me, when a method actor goes full method, it feels like, oh, it's a really good play or a really good story, but you don't lose yourself in it the same way. I guess maybe that's just me, but I forget where I was going. It was just, but the whole reason to go down this side tangent, children don't do either. Children don't go method, and children don't have that switch to turn it on, or at least for the most part. There's the occasional breakout child star who can do this, but for the most part, child actors are terrible. They are reading lines off of a cue card, and yeah, nothing about it seems authentic. It doesn't even seem, yeah.
Well, I think it's more, it's not the acting, it's just that they are fun to watch, and the role they got happens to fit their own personality.
Yeah.
Like Macaulay Culkin, awesome in the Home Alone videos, but the other movies he was in, it still was the same. It was good, but it was still the same. Or what's his name? Elijah Wood?
No, Elijah Wood is actually,
he was good, but his earlier movies, he's still kind of the same, like Radio Flyer and The Son.
Yeah, I do like Elijah Wood. I think he is one of those good actors, and if you listen to him on podcasts, stuff like that, he's actually wicked smart. But when he was a kid, he fell into that. So he'd have one or two movies where you're like, oh, that was really good, and then another movie where you're like, what's going on here? He's reading lines.
If their character fits in the movie, and if their character they're supposed to be portraying is close enough to their actual just normal personality, it works.
Yeah, so he's one of the few that broke out of that, and when he became older, you could see the change in his, basically his ability to blend into a character. Because there's other films where it's like Everything Is Illuminated, was fantastic. Bizarre but good. I think the one where, even though he didn't say a single word in it, Sin City, that was unexpected.
I was thinking he came off really creepy.
Yeah, and you're just like, wait, that's Elijah Wood? What's going on here? And his role as Frodo, you're like, that, while it was Elijah Wood and a lot of him came through in the character, so he doesn't quite blend in to a film like, say, Gary Oldman, because, I mean, that's a very rare talent. But he has shown.
I didn't even know he's.
You didn't even know he's in it.
An actor until I got older. I'm like, I've seen him in a lot of stuff and never realized it.
Yeah. I mean, he's played a lot of iconic characters, and you're like, wait, that was Gary Oldman too? That was Gary Oldman? Gary Oldman was Dracula? What?
Yeah, I had no clue that was Gary Oldman for years.
Yeah.
I don't think I started paying attention until Fifth Element, because that was just such a goofy character. I'm like, who is that guy?
But if you watch Elijah Wood's more recent stuff and then go back to watching his stuff as a kid, you're like, wow, he was terrible as a kid. Like, because some of the times I was watching him, like, oh, he was a pretty good kid actor. And then you watch some of his later stuff and you're like, no, he was a terrible kid actor.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I guess maybe not terrible. He was mediocre as a kid actor. I'll say
even that the Osment kid was really good in The Sixth Sense, because I think that's just how he is. He played the same character in Pay It Forward. Yeah,
Pay It Forward, and then Secondhand Lines. So yeah, I guess maybe just The Sixth Sense. AI was terrible too.
I mean, he played the same part. Just kind of that innocent do-gooder, dopey, not dopey, but naive.
Okay, here is the quintessential example, although I shouldn't mention it, Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Or I guess just The Last Airbender, the movie. Those kids could not act at all. They didn't even try. Oh, so bad, so wooden. Even they fell in love. Oh
yeah. Okay, never mind that movie. No.
Okay, so I will say one caveat to that. The girl playing Princess or whatever, she's actually a pretty decent actress, and I think she's the voice of Korra, or is some kind of one of the main characters in Korra. But yeah, she's
Transformers, or the other girl, like the one that had the white hair.
The princess, the one with the white hair. She was also in The Spirit. She played the younger version of
I didn't see that.
It's not as good as Sin City, but it's very reminiscent of it because it's Frank Miller. But Frank Miller as a director, not as good. Good at creating stories, not so great at movies, but eh. But yeah, she played the younger version of Eva Mendes's character. But yeah, she pretty good. The stuff that I've seen her in, she actually. But I mean, she's like 16 or no, she's older than that. No, she's got to be like in her 20s now. Yeah,
Airbender came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, she's in her 20s now, and yeah, but so she was older, so not necessarily a kid actor. She was more like a teenage actor, but yeah, she was the only one who could actually act in that film. Even the guy from Slumdog, like I thought he was great in Slumdog, and in that movie, he's just.
It's probably just the dialogue and like, how do I work with this? These are
but all of the people in there sounded terrible. Okay, well, I'm talking about terrible movies. So the delivery of the lines from the kid actors in The Last Airbender reminded me. Have you seen Blood Rain?
Blood Rain. Is that a vampire movie?
It had Ben Kingsley and Michael Madsen in it, and they give the worst performances I have ever seen.
And Ben Kingsley is one of those like mixed bag of nuts. Sometimes you get something good, others it's bitter and like what.
Yeah.
I thought he was. What was he in Thunderbirds? Just a stupid part. I don't even know why he had that. Or
what was Thunder? Yeah,
Prince of Persia. He was just
Prince of Persia was just kind of there, but Schindler's List, you're like, he was. Well, I guess, but Schindler's List, Gandhi, he's pretty good in those.
Love Guru.
Terrible part. Yeah.
Pouring tea in his nose, or whatever. Or Iron Man. What was that? 2 or 3?
Yeah, the Mandarin. Yeah.
Weird part. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So he's a mixed actor.
Yeah, but I mean, he has the ability to turn that on. But like Blood Rain, it is entirely wooden, and you could see. Like Michael Madsen, every time he is delivering a line, I'm just thinking, he's thinking, when can I cash this check? Just like, what do I have to say to get my check? Oh, I got to say this. All right, here are the lines that I'm saying. Overall, it's just a terrible movie all around. But these more prominent actors who have shown their acting chops before, like who've shown themselves, like, hey, this guy's actually pretty good and pretty convincing in a role, just throw it away in this movie because they're like, this movie's BS, it's crap. This director doesn't know what he's doing. I'm just gonna say lines, and it's like, and it's almost like
that's the one based off the vampire video game.
It's Uwe Ball because Uwe Ball for some reason was making, but not for some reason. I watched a video that it was a game theorist video that explained exactly what, or not. It was film theorist. Sorry. Same guy, different subject, but he was a film theorist, was talking about why there were so many terrible video game movies, and it's because of the laws in Germany at the time. They were this huge tax loophole, and it's basically the producers, like real life version of producers. They found that these companies could throw money at a movie and have that movie tank at the box office, and they'd still make money because of the tax liability that they would save themselves.
Really?
Yeah. That's why people were throwing money at Uwe Ball, and he just made these half-assed films. Paid millions to the actors, and then... Because, I mean, the actors were making money off of that, but the films were just outright terrible and bombed at box office repeatedly, and yet he kept pushing out these films. And turns out he made money off of this, and people he got to invest in his film made money off of this. I was like... Yeah, that's because there were stipulations, like they needed to be something that people would invest in. And if you have like a built-in audience, like a video game, that's how they were able to convince people to at least get it started in the first place. But then then they're like, oh, see, we made money off of this, even though we tanked at the box office. You guys saved money in taxes. We made money. We got, yeah. So I was like, oh, it explains why there's so many of those just unwatchable films, like not just bad video game movies, but like unwatchable in films in general based on video games. It's like this is not just an affront because it's not as good as the game. It's an affront to just films in general. Man, sorry for the terrible side tangent, but yeah, the child actors usually they come off like the kids from The Last Airbender. That's the norm. So people thinking that this Mini-AOC or Soph are just reading lines off of a script and all that sort of thing, like it wouldn't come off as their personality. Like I said, Soph for the most part is reading a script, but it's based on, if you watch her in interviews and all that sort of thing, that's how she talks like in the interview as well. So it's like, yeah, that's legitimately her. It's not her reading. It's not people passing her lines, because they would have to be able to do that like in a live stream and find some way to give her a teleprompter or something like that. And like, yeah, it's not something you could do live. It's something you could, I guess, theoretically do in recorded videos, but not. Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, you're like, that's just her personality.
Yeah.
And I will have to say, when I first saw the video, I totally thought Soph was a dude, playing a joke, pretending to be a girl. But yeah, it's a girl. I know that's one of the criticisms about Soph and all that sort of thing, is a lot of people are saying it's a boy dressed up like a girl. That was my initial impression. My bad. But I would say it's more along the lines of, because it's so deadpan and dry and intellectual, it's something you would expect from more like a Ben Shapiro than a. I'm trying to think of a more of a Ben Shapiro than a Brittany Venti. And that's the other, it's like, yeah, that was one of the videos I saw. She was doing a live stream with Brittany Venti. Anyway, so yeah, check that out. She is giving me hope for Generation Z not being a complete lost cause. There's definitely, one of the bright stars in up and coming. But the thing that ended up happening is her channel got 2 strikes because of this BuzzFeed article. And why
would it get strikes from some other article that's not even related?
No. The BuzzFeed, because they're saying, because they brought attention to this and they're saying, yeah, she's not a real channel and all that sort of thing. People have gone to her channel and made false strike claims against her. And then she has, so she's been talking about this on Twitter all day. She's gone to YouTube and said, yeah, hey, these claims against me don't even apply to this video. What's going on? And YouTube said, oh yeah, you're right, that was a false claim, removed it, and then added it back.
Really?
Yeah. So the other thing is, as of today, she does not have the ability to upload or stream videos because of this recent activity on her account. It's basically, so if you read the BuzzFeed article about her, they're basically calling people who read BuzzFeed to go and attack this channel and get it taken down off of YouTube. That's, yeah. So that's exactly, yeah, they're basically they're saying do a false flag campaign against this girl, even though she's not violating the terms of service. She's abiding by all the rules. It's not copyrighted information. This is by YouTube's terms of service, this is an acceptable account, and they're asking their readership to go and false flag the video. This is exactly what they criticize other people doing. And yeah, if they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. That's just kind of a disgusting tactic.
Yeah.
If you don't like what somebody else is saying, just don't listen. Don't go to their channel.
Yeah.
I mean, who gets to those type of channels, especially when YouTube isn't necessarily promoting them, unless you're purposely going out to look for information or more conservative platforms.
I was not aware of the channel until other people that I follow started mentioning it. Like Styx Hexenhammer had a video where he was talking about it, and then it just kind of started circulating, and more people were talking about it, and now it has become because BuzzFeed wrote about it. People like Mark Dice, who has a pretty large YouTube channel, he made a video about it today. And I was like, he didn't know who she was before today, and now he's saying, "Hey, let's get her up over 1 million." I'm like, yeah. Good job, BuzzFeed. Way to fall for the what's that called? The Streisand effect.
Yeah. Now you actually brought her to the attention of more people.
Yeah, and I think she's gained like 100,000 followers in the past, like within a very short amount of time. Like I think since the start of the month, if I'm not mistaken. It's ridiculous. Because like when I first found out about her, I subscribed. It was like 800,000, and now it's getting close to 1 million. I'm like, but all of that's going to be meaningless if the channel disappears because YouTube says, "Oh, you're basically Gavin McInnes."
Yeah, I mean, which doesn't make sense. I don't even understand why he would get banned.
He has a strike against his channel. His channel still exists, but and he's fighting that claim as well as other stuff. But he lost his Twitter account and he lost Facebook, but he still has YouTube for now. The strikes against Crowder's channel have been removed, but was it MilaNoMoreSex? Yeah, that was Facebook that kicked them off. But yeah, social media channels in general are cracking down on people like Gavin McInnes and Crowder and basically the people, basically the kind of the conservative, kind of edgy comedians. At least that's the people they're going after now. Won't be too long before they're like, okay, Ben Shapiro, you're done. Andrew Klavan, doesn't matter. You're out of here. They're going to be focusing them. Oh, was it PragerU? Doesn't matter. You're gone. That's the other thing is YouTube has put PragerU videos on restricted mode, and actually PragerU is still in a court case against YouTube over this. It's been going on for like 2 years.
Wait, you mean like for adult content?
Yeah. So generally the restricted mode, restricted mode means you have to be logged in order to view those. You have to be over the age of 18 to view those. And if you are going to YouTube from a college campus or a school, you cannot view restricted videos. And all of PragerU's videos are taught by someone who is either a professor or some kind of social commentary, but all of the videos they release are purely informational and are designed to be similar to a college course, just kind of condensed to 5 minutes, kind of like a 5-minute little overview, as opposed to, being an in-depth lecture.
Yeah.
But they're designed to be academic. They're academic in nature, and yet many of those videos have been considered restricted by YouTube. And YouTube hasn't commented on why their videos would be restricted. And there's no swearing in them, there's no nudity. It is informational video. And yet PragerU, this is part of the case against YouTube, is there are rap videos that have partial nudity or, and where they say the N-word and they say, they drop F-bombs and they say, B-word and all that sort of thing. And those videos are not restricted. Those are the videos that are supposed to be restricted based on YouTube's terms of service. They're still up there, not restricted in any way, shape, or form. PragerU video about some guy, little cartoon graphics, and a guy giving a lecture, restricted mode. What? You have to be over 18 to hear some guy lecture you about capitalism and economics. Okay. That makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah, so based on what YouTube's been doing as far as
Can you tell if a video is restricted just by opening it?
You can tell if you go to YouTube without being logged in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and the other one is Tommy Robinson's channel. He still has his channel, but he has been like permanently shadow banned by YouTube. You cannot look up his name. You cannot look up his videos. You have to type in the URL address to his videos in order to reach them. If you are subscribed to him, you do not get notifications of when he uploads a video. The only way you can get to his videos is if you know the direct URL to it. That's ridiculous. Or at least that's the way it was last time I checked. It's like, because he was on an interview with Lauren Shin, and he says that, and I'm like, no, that can't be. And I'm like, what the? How is this? I can subscribe to him. Doesn't mean a thing. It doesn't show up in notifications. Okay, so I believe that his stuff still shows up in your subscriptions, but you have to go to the channel specifically if you're subscribed. But if you are not subscribed, the only way to see those videos, so here's even if you're subscribed and you go and search for the name of a video that he has made, it will not show up in the search results. At least last time I checked on this. So the only way you could get to them is you have to already be subscribed, or someone has to send you the direct link to that video. That's pretty bizarre. And that only seems to be affecting Tommy Robinson's channel. I don't know of any other channel that is in that kind of restricted mode.
Well, that just seems odd, because if he's violating something and gets strikes, then the whole channel
he should ban his channel. Yeah,
that state.
Yeah,
where you can upload stuff and say, hey, it's open, people can get to it, but we're going to block every single attempt. That's definitely.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and as far as the subscription goes, even if you hit the bell and you are subscribed, you do not get notified when he uploads a new video. You have to go to his channel. You have to be subscribed to it, go to the subscription, and look up the new video. Otherwise, you would never know the new video is out there unless somebody else, like Tommy Robinson himself, because Tommy Robinson's not on Twitter, he got banned off of there. You have to, some other platform that he is on has to send you a link to the video, and then that link has to go and be passed around in order for people to get to it. That is ridiculously absurd. And as far as I know, his channel's the only one that's like that. And it won't be long until Styx and Tim Pool are in the same boat, and then Joe Rogan, and then they're going to come for Jordan Peterson, and they're going to come for Dave Rubin and all that sort of thing.
Joe Rogan, he's got quite a few subscribers, a couple million.
Yep.
His channel's pretty big. And Tim Pool is not even all right. He's just like left of center.
Yeah. So yeah, they're probably going to go after Tim Pool before they go after Joe Rogan, though. Yeah, it is bizarre.
Yeah, both of those guys don't even pick a side.
No, Tim Pool for the most part does not pick a side, but he is further to the right than the extreme left, and he's also criticized Islam, so he's the first to go. So you can't say anything bad about Islam. And that's why that's the other reason is why Soph has been targeted by Buzzfeed and has probably been probably going to lose the channel, is specifically because she made a video joking about Islam and the stupidity of people arguing for it, and she did it by wearing a hijab. And basically,
everybody can make fun of Christianity all day long.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's the difference.
I mean, the entire life of Brian is kind of a joke at Christians' expense. It's just mocking the entire New Testament, and it's satire. It's jokes. Okay. Imagine if you made the life of Muhammad, or I guess maybe it wouldn't be the life of Muhammad. It would be, what's another typical Arabic name?
That's
I can't think of one other than Muhammad. The life of Ahmed. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. Wow.
Ahmed or Abdullah.
Yeah.
I think I know a few guys.
Yeah, imagine if there was Life of Ahmed and that was released in theaters. No, that started an all-out war. Can't do that. Can't joke about that. Nope. A religion of peace. Can't joke about it.
Well, I mean, it just should kind of point out how fascist that belief system is. We are the only right voice. Everything else is wrong, or is a lie, or is misleading, or is harmful. So we're going to block everything, and you can only listen to our point of view.
Yeah.
And yet they're saying that they're against fascism.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just...
All right. But it is nice to that her channel is getting attention. What is this? Okay, so there is somebody just posted this in the chat. I don't think that was there before, but pro-choice life. Pro-life. And I was just on Twitter arguing about this with people who tried to tell me that making a moral claim was an act of aggression.
Saying that women's bodies and that they have a choice is a moral claim.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just a different point of view.
Yeah. So somebody was trying to say that if you are a libertarian or an ANCAP and your core foundation is the non-aggression principle, saying that people can't murder would be against the NAP. And I was like, no, that's not how this works at all.
What NAP stands for.
The NAP is non-aggression. And like, so they're claiming that the logical conclusion is that if aggression is not permitted because it is immoral, murder would not be permitted. But saying that murder would not be permitted would be an act of aggression, and therefore you can't say that. What?
How was it an act of aggression?
Because this person said it was. That's what I kept saying. I'm like, dude, just because you say it is doesn't mean it.
Is.
Yeah. Yeah, the idiot didn't. I mean, we were talking about it like over the weekend and all throughout, you know, and overnight, and then eventually I just like, dude, this is retarded. I'm just gonna make a 3-minute long video, post that to Twitter, and that's the last thing I'm gonna say to you because I'm gonna talk. Because basically, all I said, your claim was that making moral claims would itself be an act of aggression, but the NAP itself is a moral claim. It claims that acts of aggression are not permissible. That is a moral claim. And if moral claims are acts of aggression, the NAP is self-contradictory. If the NAP is self-contradictory, it would mean that acts of aggression are moral. If acts of aggression are moral, then might makes right must be the only way to establish morality. I mean, and his rebuttal to this, I wanted to respond. I'm like, nope, I'm just done. I muted him. His response to that was, oh, those aren't the only two options because there are other ways of establishing morality. I'm like, what other ways? To establish morality, you either express this idea with words, what is and is not moral has to be expressed, or you enforce morality with force, like by physical force. Those are the only two options.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're getting at with that. Because basically he's saying if you even express that something is moral, therefore something else is not, that is aggression. So, I mean, basically he would have to say aggression is the moral way versus non-aggression.
Yes. Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make.
It's like, this is right because I said so and I'm backed by such and such body that controls everything.
All moral claims would have to be aggression, in which means in order to establish morality, you have to aggress, which you have to use some sort of
Antifa's motive, their line of thinking, is because you're attacking our, I don't even know what kind of beliefs they actually have, but because your words are in a disagreement with what I believe, that is an act of aggression. Therefore, to conquer that, I have to be stronger. And basically,
so the only way to combat that is with physical force, which is what they do. And a system where physical force determines whether you're right or not is might makes right. And the only people who benefit, barbarians and dictators.
Yeah. I mean, that's very regressive thought.
Yeah. And I concluded my little video with saying
slavery should be plenty legal and okay.
Wait, what?
Because it was it was considered moral to own slaves back when it was allowed before it got abolished.
Yeah, and it was only by making verbal arguments against slavery that slavery was abolished. So it was people rationalizing this out and like, wait a minute, okay, this is an immoral system. We can't keep doing this. We have to take steps to get rid of this system. without reasoning that out and just saying, oh, I'm stronger than you, you're my slave. That's the way it would have been for forever. It would have never gone away had people not reasoned and talked this out and made moral claims.
The system of slavery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Around the world. That's what it is. Someone stronger taking dominance and saying, nope, this is now your life, and I'm allowed to do it because I'm stronger.
Yes. So without the ability to make moral claims with your words, then physical enforcement of morality, I guess I quote morality because it's not true morality. It is you're only allowed to do what they allow you to do without killing you or without beating you up or imprisoning you. That's, yeah. Essentially, yes, slavery is, yeah. That'd be like, hey, slavery for everybody. That's the ultimate, that would be the ultimate result of saying that all morality must be established by physical force. And if you're not allowed to establish morality by making moral claims and arguing with your logic and your words, physical violence is all you have.
No, I mean, that's true. Plus, that kind of defeats the purpose of having morals, because the moral is supposed to be it's either right or wrong. But if they shift due to a shift in power, then it's not right or wrong. It just depends who's in charge of it, though.
Yeah. That's without the NAP, that's why I was saying, it's like, yeah, the NAP is an axiom, and it is a moral claim. And here's the other crazy thing, is like, the very fact that this person was arguing with me means that he at least accepts that moral claims are a valid way of establishing morality, as opposed to using physical force to get their way. That it's lost on idiots. It's lost on people with, I'm like, yeah, the very fact that you're arguing means that you accept that you can make moral claims without violating morality itself. Yep. Which means, it's, and the way that is expressed is the NAP. So it's that is the more condensed version of morality, and saying, yes, moral claims are allowed, and you can use those moral claims to say that action is not allowable, that action is not allowable, that action is not allowable, and making those claims against those specific actions is not a violation of morality. That's the only way moral systems can exist without being entirely subjective and beholden to the people who have power. All right, yeah, so that... Yeah, sorry that was a long-winded response to your pro-choice or pro-life question, but yes, I am pro-life, and I think the NAP specifically does require that people protect life, because even though people will claim that a developing baby is nothing but a clump of cells and all of that sort of thing, the bills that are going out right now specifically clarify at 6 weeks, an independent heartbeat can be detected. Now, that's due to scientific advancements. As early as 6 weeks, a heartbeat can be detected. To declare something with a heartbeat as just a clump of cells and not an individual or a person is pretty barbaric in my mind. And this independent individual with their own separate heartbeat and their own circulatory system and their own nervous system, and those develop as early, between 5 and 8 weeks is when those systems come into play. And as early as 7 weeks, a developing human being can detect pain. To claim that such an individual is not a person, it goes against everything we know about science in today. And this is something, like, I just watched that Ben Shapiro on Sky News. Man, I'm trying to wrap this video up, but Ben Shapiro on Sky News, and the guy questioning him talked about Georgia's bill being a return to the Dark Ages. And I'm just scratching my head. I'm like, the Dark Ages, where they believed in alchemy and sorcery and astrology, and they rejected all religion, and it was they lost so much scientific advancements, and that would have been lost like for generations had the the monastery system not existed to preserve those advancements in technology and understanding, the Dark Ages would have continued for much longer without those religious systems in place. But the other thing is, the Dark Ages were a rejection of science, rejection of advancements. The Georgia Bill is specifically, it outlines in it, the only, at the time of Roe v. Wade and at the time of Planned Parenthood versus, what's his name? What was that case? Planned Parenthood versus something with a C.
Let me see.
Those were the two pivotal cases. It was Planned Parenthood versus, maybe it was Bauer? No.
There's a Casey.
V. Casey. Yeah, start with a C. Yeah, that's Casey. That was it. Yeah, so those were the two primary court cases that went up to the Supreme Court that established abortion as a legal right. I would say it's a legal privilege, not a right. But the bill outlines that at the time of those, heartbeats, children would not survive 21-week premature birth with a 90+% survival rate. At the times that those court cases happened, that was not the norm. That is the norm now. 21 weeks and above, you have a 90, I think it actually might be a 95% survivability rate. That's ridiculous. 21 weeks. That's, wait, so how many months is that? That's 2 months early. 2 full months early, and you still have a 95% chance of living a full normal life. No complications, all that sort of thing. Two full months early. The other thing is scientific advancements have detected we can take pictures inside of pregnant moms. Like this, the ultrasound technology can give you 3D images of the developing human. We know that it's not just a clump of cells because we can detect how development occurs because of our scientific advancements. And that's why these Georgia bills, like, yeah, this is all stuff that, like the Casey bill was what, 92? This is 20 years down the road, and we can detect heartbeats as early as 6 weeks. We know all the stages of development because we can see inside and what's going on. Our knowledge of what is actually happening during the development has advanced rapidly, and especially Roe v. Wade was what year was that? 60s?
Yeah, that one's pretty old.
Yeah. So the Planned Parenthood versus Casey was 92. Yeah, 70. Yeah. So it was in the 70s. Like, that was when computers were just emerging. Like, now we've got you can see a 3D image of your child as what, like a month or 2 in, and you can see fingers and toes and limbs and all this. Like, that's something they didn't know back then. They didn't know how far along because they were going off of people who had sketched images in their books. One of the main things that was being touted was some guy writing drawings of the development. And I brought this up in my, oh man. All right, I'm trying to wrap this up, but it's not going to happen because abortion is a huge issue here. When I was doing my debate versus that guy, and he was saying he was looking at, what are those called? What are the magnetic images or whatever? It's not X-ray. The other thing, EKG. Is that the acronym?
That scan.
Yeah, basically they had images of a fetus during development. He's like, oh, look at that. It looks kind of like a squid. And I'm like, that's not what a human looks like at that stage in development. Even according to Wikipedia, they have images like, oh, digital images like, yeah, at 6 weeks, this is what a developing human looks like. This is what a fetus looks like at this many weeks, and they state all the stages of development. That was not as provable back in the 70s or even back in the 90s because our advancements in what we know about human life and human development, what we can detect and what we know about during that development is so much more, so much further along, which is why we can, hey, 20 weeks, I think actually the new record is 18 weeks. If I'm not mistaken, they had 18-week old survive and without complications. That's so, and it just keeps going further and further down as our technology and as our medical advancements improve. And all of that is because we're able to determine things about a developing human much earlier and much more accurately. And like at the time of Casey, I think we were still looking at like 30 something weeks was the norm. We basically cut that. Oh, we almost cut that number in half in 20 years. Like if 30 weeks was the survivability in the 92, we now have the survivability 20 weeks, right? Oh, I guess maybe not half. Okay, so we've cut it by a third. That's a better approximation. Sorry. Yeah, I couldn't do math there for a second. Yeah, sorry about that. I am Asian. I do math. Math blood. Yeah, so we basically the successful age went from 30, or the successful birth rate. I'm not exact. It's around 30, right? Are you looking that up?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, it was in the range of 30, and currently it's around 21 weeks. Still has a 95% chance of success rate of survivability being premature at 21 weeks. That was yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm looking at two different statistics. This one saying 26 weeks is 80%, 23 weeks is 17%. This other statistic,
yeah,
just on the Wikipedia site.
How old are those?
This study is from 2003 and 2005.
Yeah, I was about to say those are old. The more recent stuff, yeah, it's
24 weeks is still 40 to 70% chance, at least on that one.
Yeah, those are a couple decades behind. That's why I was like, wait, that doesn't, because I know I've looked at statistics on this pretty recently, and I was like, wait, 80? That's nope, not a. So yeah, and that's the other thing is a lot of the material that you'll see on places like Wikipedia and places like that is even that's out of date, but that's still way more advanced than what they had in 92. Yeah, I will, man. I will try to look up the research on that, the statistics, and get that and post this on this video. And no promises there. I know. I guess I'm making a bold claim by saying 21 weeks is 95%. That was according to the more recent study I read, but that was something that was I think that was 2017. I will try to find that. I know researching in this when I was doing looking into this information for my own purposes when making arguments online and that sort of thing, it is a pain to try to dig through to find the actual statistics on this, because the stuff's either outdated or the materials, the main things you're going to pull up are all coming from Planned Parenthood and things like that, who are encouraging abortion. So naturally, they're not going to give you arguments in favor of being pro-life.
Yep.
So yeah. So I guess, considering that the main sources of this don't back me up, I do know that is verifiable, proving that I'll have to get that evidence, because it's not something I've saved. I should have. But I do, because I stay up late at night and I go on these deep dive into a subject, because I'm like, no, that's not true. I know I've seen this somewhere, and after you spend 5 hours online looking for stuff and you find something like, yes, this is what I was talking about. It's like, by then the conversation's gone. And you're like, whatever. Well, now it's too late to present it, and that's probably what's going to happen here. It's like, man, I knew that this was correct, and this is according to a accredited source and like a medical center and all that sort of thing. And by then, the other person is long forgot about the conversation and doesn't care anymore. So, man, I do need to make a habit of, when I find this information, to store it, because I remember, oh yeah, it was a pain to find this stuff. because it's buried under pages of other nonsense that is like a anyway. Fetal development is much more rapid than they thought back in the 70s. And people were saying, oh, it's just a clump of cells and it looks like a squid in development. No, you could actually, there's an image. I was like, that should probably be a better argument than how early prematures have been. Like, I think it's 8 weeks. There was an image, and it is not a faked image. It is not computer generated or something like that. I think it is 8 weeks. Bum, 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 bum. Wait, why is that? That's not. I clicked on the image of the link and it went to an article that does not have the image.
Before watching my video, please subscribe.
Because there are images of actual fetuses at these stages of development that either like stillborn or something like that. These are not computer generated. These are the actual man. And now I gotta dig through and find it. I thought it would be pretty quick to find, but it might be 10 weeks then. No, that looks like it. Because there's a picture of somebody's hand, and they're holding a actual fetus, and it gives the number of weeks, and it doesn't look like a little, you know. Oh, oof, that one's heartbreaking, man. Yeah. There we go. Okay, that's 13 weeks, man. Okay, I'm gonna link this site in the description. Because, yeah, this is graphic stuff. Sorry about that, but this is for the person asking about this. Those are images of actual fetuses at various stages, and yeah, that's 19 weeks. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. These are not little amoebas or clusters of cells. These are like, some of these pictures are 10 weeks. Some of these pictures are 19 weeks. I'm trying to figure out which one is the 9 weeks. 9 weeks, fingers and toes. Oh, man, that is... There's a 13 week, yeah, arms, legs, torso. I mean, not completely human looking, but that is not the squid thing that one guy tried to show me. These are so this is heartbreaking stuff. Okay, so I linked that in the chat for the video. I don't think I linked that in in here. And I'm okay. Still don't see the one image that so that one's closer, but that's not the one, because there's one where the child fits into a man's hand, but you can make out arms and legs and toes. and you're like, that looks like a very, very small baby. People claiming and it was really early along in development. And I'm like, yeah, that completely goes against what most people think about human development. And they're like, yeah, whatever, just 9 months and then it's a baby. And I'm like, no, I mean, there's still development of all their systems and all their internal organs and all that sort of thing. But even as early as 10 weeks, that looks distinctively human. That's not like if you found that, if you found the body of someone who was 14 weeks or 10 to 14 weeks, you could identify it as human as opposed to a chimp fetus or a dog fetus. I mean, it is distinctively human. It is not indistinguishable from a human. Like it is, because that's what they try to claim. These abortion advocates try to claim, oh, it's not even like, if you see how far along, even at a couple of weeks, yeah, it takes the full 9 months to develop, but oh, there we go. Oof. Okay, that's heartbreaking, but man. Okay, this is 11-week-old stillborn. And I hope this doesn't get my channel banned, but oh, I end up posting graphic images, whatever. I'm sending links to this stuff and not actually posting it on the video, but that's the one I was thinking of, because that arms, fingers, toes, you can even see a genitalia. 11 weeks for a stillborn baby. Fits in the palm of the hand, but distinctively human as opposed to something else. Not a cluster of cells, not part of the mother's body. Yeah, 11 weeks, 2 days. That's how far along in development a fetus is. That's not what they will say at Planned Parenthood. That's not what they will say in all these pro-abortion talks and all that sort of thing. They will, oh, it's alien or it's foreign. I'm like, that's human. That's not something else. That is human, distinctively human.
Yeah.
And yet all these people are trying to claim that, oh, it's not something, it's something else. I'm like, that. And the NAP and ANCAP philosophy and all of that is distinctively built around protecting the victims from the victimizers, the victims from the aggressors. And in this case, because a developing human is still a human and is an individual, the person ending their life is the aggressor, and therefore the NAP does support bans on abortion the same way it supports bans on murder, the same way it supports bans on theft, the same way it supports bans on assault, bans on rape. All of these actions that create victims, based on our current scientific understandings, the fetus would be a victim of aggression if it was terminated by the mother. Ugh. Yeah, sorry about the graphic images, but that's one of those things people don't understand how far along in development. They think, oh, yeah.
There's a large group of people that are willingly ignorant, because as long as they convince themselves that it is just a clump of cells and I don't need to know any more than that, it's fine.
Yeah.
Try and keep the guilt off themselves.
Yes.
Because they simply want to be able to get out of a situation. They don't want to be forced to have a kid because they wanted to go out and be promiscuous or not use a contraceptive. And then now they're going to be paying for this kid. They're going to be buying diapers. They're going to, their life now becomes dedicated to raising someone else, and they can't go be free to do what they want. So they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Yes.
And as long as they can convince themselves of a lie or remain ignorant, then they can get over the guilt.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty much what it boils down to. It's just people wanting to do something irresponsible and not have any repercussions, be able to just get out of it.
Yeah, and sorry for ending on a down note, but somebody did ask that question in the chat, and I spiraled out. Sorry about that, but hopefully that answered your question. And yes, pro-life position is supported by the NAP because that is a life, and the right to life is specifically what the NAP is protecting. That is the fundamental. Without the right to life, all the other rights that are established using the NAP or logically deduced from the NAP don't matter. If you don't have the right to life, who cares if you've got the right to speech or you've got the right to own property? Because someone can just kill you and take your stuff and they're not violating the NAP. Yeah, the right to life is fundamental to the NAP. And if we can't protect that, then what's the purpose of protecting all this other stuff? Oh, I protected my property and my money. Like, who cares? People are dying. That's the fundamental thing that needs to be protected above all else. All right. And on that note, I'm gonna end the stream. I do have to go. It is, oh man, it's 9:17. Whoops, did not get that email out, but hopefully I can get out in the next. Hopefully it's not too detrimental. I mean, they've already know what they're supposed to be working on, so this is just a. Actually, this shouldn't really affect them at all because this is stuff they're working on in the
update on that.
Leadership.
Got an email to send out.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm like, hopefully that won't be. Hopefully that doesn't get me fired. No, it's not. It's gonna be fine. But man, I gotta work on getting these streams done sooner, and also gotta work on starting them earlier. But that's out of my hands at the moment. All right, catch you guys next week. See you next Tuesday. Bye.